The passage of time. We have shared your joy at the birth of your children, and proudly we have watched them grow. We've taken care of your healthcare needs during the good times and the not so good. Your parents and grandparents have depended upon us. Together we have shared the struggles and the wonders of life. At Oktibbeha County Hospital, we are celebrating 30 years of being your lifelong choice in healthcare.
This meeting of the Starkville Board of Aldermen will now come to order. Please rise for the saying of the Pledge of Allegiance, to be followed by a brief moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You have before you a copy of the modified written agenda. Are there any proposed revisions to the agenda?
I've got a few.
Okay.
I'd like to remove item 7B, report from the City of Starkville Transportation Committee. No one from that committee is here to make that report. And because of those funds being already approved funds, I would like to place item XE on consent.
Okay, let's do those one at a time. The first is to remove item 7B on page 2 from the agenda. And
That's
that is
correct.
the appearance from the Transportation Committee. Is there
Right.
any objection to that revision? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, item 7B on page 2 has been removed from the agenda. All right, what's your next?
And then in that same line, 10E, put on consent. Those are already approved dollars. The sidewalk committee to spend. Place that on consent.
And that's the $20,000 that was budgeted for sidewalk.
For
improvements
sidewalks
this
for this
year.
fiscal year, that's correct.
Okay, is that correct? It is correct.
Mm-hmm.
All right, the proposed revision is to place item 10E on page 3. Consideration of the recommendation by the Transportation Committee to expend $20,000 on sidewalks between Russell Street and South Montgomery along Gillespie Street on the consent agenda. Is there any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, item 10E on page 3 has been placed on the consent agenda.
I'd like to also place 10A and B on the consent agenda.
All right. Item 10A on page 3, consideration of making appointments to the Historic Preservation Committee. Item 10B, consideration of making appointments to the Stormwater Board. Any objection to placing those two items on the consent agenda? Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, items 10A and B have been,
Putting it on consent means everyone that applied.
yes. All the applicants for those positions would be appointed.
There's multiple.
All right, seeing no objection, items 10A and B on page 3 have been placed on the consent agenda.
Also like to add item 9A to the consent agenda.
All right, proposed revision is to move item 9A, extension of temporary certificate of occupancies and issuance of certificate of occupancy for the Highway 12 extension development on consent. Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, item 9A on page 3 has been placed on the consent agenda. Any further proposed revisions? Are there any further proposed revisions? Any further proposed revisions? Seeing none, a motion to approve the agenda is in order. Motion has been made by Alderman Corey to approve the revised written agenda. Do I hear a second? Second. Motion has been seconded by Alderman Vaughn. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. The first matter for your consideration on the agenda is the approval of the consent agenda. Is there any objection to the approval of the consent agenda? Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Alderman Carver? Oh, seeing no objection, the consent agenda is approved. All right. The next matter on the agenda is the approval of the minutes for May 18th, 2010. Discussion? Alderman Parker.
Mayor, I noticed on, we don't have page numbers, but third from the back, when we voted on a motion to approve pay adjustments within the police department for the staff support technicians. And I need to check with Alderman Carver. I believe Alderman Carver voted nay
I did,
on that.
for the staff support technician, but for the.
We got it in the minutes as yay. So that needs to be corrected to nay.
That's number 35.
Number 35, right?
All right, would you like to propose that amendment?
I will.
All right. Alderman Parker has made a motion to have the minutes reflect that Alderman Carver voted nay to item 35 in the minutes, a motion to approve pay adjustments within the police department for staff support technicians. Alderman Parker, is that your motion?
It is.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Carver. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Alderman Parker's amendment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. We'll now move back into discussion on the consideration of the minutes. Discussion.
Move approval of the corrected minutes.
Alderman Corey has made a motion to approve of the City of Starkville Board of Aldermen, to approve the minutes of the City of Starkville Board of Aldermen recess meeting of May 18, 2010 as amended. Alderman Corey, is that your motion?
It is.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Carver. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. All right, we'll now move to comments by the mayor and board. And first, I would like to recognize 3 retirees that we have who have been in long-time service with the city and are now retiring and moving on to different, if not greener, pastures. And do we have all 3 employees here? I don't see Bobby. Oh, there he is. Okay. Yeah. All right, our first retiree is Bobby Cromwell. And if you'll come forward, I'll read a commendation, and then we'll have a presentation of the plaque. Bobby Cromwell began working for the City of Starkville as the custodian in March of 1984. Bobby was a special employee for the city. He made sure City Hall ran as smoothly as possible and was always willing to lend a helping hand to anyone who asked. Bobby genuinely cared about employees in City Hall as well as all the citizens who came through City Hall. His willingness to go the extra mile will be missed. Before Bobby joined the City of Starkville, he worked at Mississippi State in custodial services. It was Bobby's responsibility to make sure all of the lights worked in the numerous buildings on campus. Bobby's future plans include spending time with his wife, Julia, and on occasion keeping his grandchildren when the need arises. Bobby is also considering giving up his yard cutting business to just enjoy retirement. Bobby was a dedicated employee to the City of Starkville. His infectious laugh, big smile, and his singing of quirky songs will surely be missed around the halls of City Hall, but they will not be forgotten. We want to wish Mr. Bobby well in his retirement and his future endeavors.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Enjoy your time.
Thank you. All right, Bob.
Next, I'd like to recognize Stuart T. And Stuart began his career with the City of Starkville in February of 1984 as a firefighter with the Starkville Fire Department. Stuart has been an important part of the fire department. He was always willing to do more than his share to make sure the Starkville Fire Department was one of the best departments in the state of Mississippi. Stuart was instrumental in forming the fire department's dive team, rope rescue team, as well as the hazmat team. He was also one of the first people to receive the Advanced Rescue Specialist certification. During his tenure with the fire department, Stuart has held ranks of firefighter, sergeant, lieutenant, and his present rank of captain. Before joining the fire department, Stuart was employed with Mississippi State University and worked as a volunteer firefighter with the Starkville Fire Department. Stuart's future plans after retirement include spending time with his wife Karen and their two children, daughter Taylor and son Doug. Stuart owns a small farm on Curtis Chapel Road where they raise honeybees, horses, and chickens. Stuart also owns a record service called Bulldog Towing and plans to expand his business. Stuart was a dedicated employee of the City of Starkville Fire Department, and he will certainly be missed. And I'd now like to recognize Jeremiah Marshall. Jeremiah began his career with the City of Starkville in February of 1988. He was the operator of this, he began his career in 1988 as an operator of the Starkville wastewater treatment plant. His constant concern for the plant and his coworkers and willingness to help out in any situation made Jeremiah an outstanding member of the Starkville wastewater team and a good friend to all. His love of mechanical things and his willingness to help out in any situation proved to be invaluable. Before Jeremiah began working for the City of Starkville, he sold cars and parts for many years. His knowledge of parts was helpful and was a source of pride for Jeremiah, and he was able to recall part numbers from memory. Jeremiah's future plans include doing some traveling and spending some time spoiling his grandchildren. He was a dedicated employee for the City of Starkville and the Starkville wastewater treatment plant. He will be sincerely missed. Jeremiah, we wish you well in your retirement and your future endeavors.
Great job. Thank you. Congratulations. Great job. Congratulations to you.
Congratulations. Don't spoil this when we get to see you.
We were originally scheduled to have two new employee introductions tonight. Michael Howard was unable to make it, so we'll do his at the next meeting. I would like to introduce Joe Goddard to you. Joe Goddard is a new maintenance worker 1 in the street department. He's originally from Byram and was homeschooled for 11 years. While growing up, Joe became an Eagle Scout from Troop 99. He attended Mississippi State University, where he received a Bachelor of Science degree in wildlife and fisheries, with an emphasis in conservation law enforcement. For the past 3 years, Joe worked for the City of Starkville in mosquito control part-time. He attends First Baptist Church. He also enjoys spending time with his new wife of 9 months. When Joe isn't busy with work, he enjoys hunting, fishing, camping, and hiking. Please join me in welcoming Joe to the City Work. And I would like to provide another update on our power outages, and we're getting close to the end of our power outages, but we have 2 more. These power outages will be exactly the same as previous power outages that we've experienced over the last couple of months. And that is affecting South Starkville, particularly Southwest Starkville, more severely than other parts of town. People in Southwest Starkville will see the longest outage, followed by Southeast Starkville. People in North Starkville will experience only a temporary outage between the hours of 3 and 5 a.m. And our last 2 outages are scheduled for July 10th and August 7th. So after August 7th, I will no longer be making this announcement. The last announcement I have is, I guess I want to make sure the tentative work session date we'd set at our last meeting still works for everybody. That is next Wednesday, July 14th at 5:30. And that'll be in the partnership boardroom. Okay. That's the work session where we'll go over the draft of our strategic plan and discuss any potential provisions and hopefully move towards adoption.
5:30?
5:30, next Wednesday, July 14th. Okay. Comments by the members of the board? Alderman Corey.
Since we placed the appointments to both our Historic Preservation Commission and Stormwater Board on our consent agenda, they are approved. And since I see some of the members that have applied for those boards in the audience, I just wanted to say thank you for being willing to take your time to serve on those, because those are not paid positions and they're often thankless positions. But fortunately, we live in a town where we have people willing to give up their time, and their energy, and their expertise to make these boards and commissions work for the city as a whole. So just wanted to say thank you for that.
Further comments by the members of the board? Are there any further comments by the members of the board? Alderman Carl.
I was just gonna say, maybe you wanna make an announcement on the ceremony today and the location and.
The electric department? Yeah, had a fantastic grand opening ceremony at the electric department. Looking around, some of you were able to make it, and well, it's a great day for the city, and it truly is a historic day when you consider that for the past 59 years, the Starkville Electric Department has occupied the same building. And electric department now has a new home, and a beautiful home, I might add, to the credit of the previous mayor and board and the hard work and determination of Mr. Hadaway and his staff. So it's a good day for the city of Starkville. Any further comments by the members of the board? Any further comments? All right, seeing none, we'll move to citizen comments. Any citizen wishing to make comments this evening may do so by coming forward and introducing yourself, and you'll be recognized to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes.
Good evening to the mayor and board. My name is Alvin Turner, Ward 7. Good evening to the vice mayor, Sam Sitrunk, and Alderman Vaughn.
Thank you, Alvin. Good evening.
The citizens have some concern that actions speak louder than words. We need a report on the helmet ordinance. A lot of kids are riding in the street with no helmet. We need a report on the Carver Drive situation that we have in 100-degree weather. We need a report on Jefferson Street. The electric department is complete. And we need a report on the curfew. We don't need 12, 17-year-olds getting their hands on 380s 357 and 38 using on like whoever they please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Any further citizen comments?
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Michelle Williams. I live on Park Circle in Starkville, Mississippi, and have about for 4 years. I think it's Ward 2. And I wanted to address members of the board and see if I could get you guys to please help me figure out what is going on. I feel as if I'm being harassed by members of Starkville Police Department. Over the past 3 years, I've been stopped numerous number of times, at the least 6. 3 of those I can give you specific officers' names, dates, times. The other 3 I can't give you their name, but I can tell you specifically what happened. My boyfriend has been harassed. He's even been placed in the back of a police car under arrest, detained. I've been held there, not allowed to go in my friend's house and take care of her who has seizures, for him to come back about 5-10 minutes later and say sorry. I just heard him say, "La, Jordan in a green car" over the radio. I assumed it was you. I think this is unacceptable. I let the first incidents go thinking, okay, it'll be okay. Second incident, I'll let go. Third, fourth. It's obvious that I'm constantly having these incidents with the Starkville Police Department. I've spoken to Sergeant Stewart at one point in time about it. I even have came up here and spoke just as recently on the 24th of June because the incidents took place then. I was pulled over by 3 different police officers within 20 minutes. Neither time given a ticket. The first time asked about 4 different times to search my vehicle. This is kind of crossing a fine line. And I feel like I'm being harassed. I'm just asking that members of the board investigate this matter. I typed up a 4-page complaint. I had it notarized by Ms. Sheridan at the Starkville Police Department. I turned in a copy to the mayor's office, and I asked that Lynn Spruill give a copy to all the members of the board so you all could please investigate. I don't feel like if I have a complaint with them that they should be the ones investigating it, which is what they're telling me. I have to go through them. I think it should be someone else. And that's all I have to say. I think it needs to be stopped. I would like you all to please get back to being in writing and let me know the results of your investigation and what you guys find out.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. And your complaint has been subject to a full internal investigation. Internal investigation files are confidential. If you would like to discuss the results of that internal investigation or this matter further, you're certainly welcome to make an appointment with me, and I'm sure the police chief would be happy to talk to you as well.
Okay, so I just call and make an appointment, like,
Yes, ma'am. You can call my office and we'll set up an appointment.
okay. I sure do, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Any further citizen comments?
Mr. Mayor, members of the board, my name is Stan Gray, and I live at 1066 Warrior Drive down at Deerfield. On Friday, July 2nd, some of the garbage men came by. There's 2 trucks backed in front of my driveway and were compressing garbage in front of my drive. I asked them, what was going on. I asked them to see if they couldn't do that somewhere else. They totally ignored me. After words being exchanged, we got into a physical situation, and of course, I called the law enforcement. They came by, took statements, and of course, it's under their review right now at this time. But however, I just wanted to come and let you all see if you could do something about them compressing this garbage, having all that runoff run right in front of my driveway I gotta come in and out, as oftentimes there's shards of glass down in the streets, kids coming back and forth down the streets. I just think that it's unnecessary for them to do that, and I just wanted to see if I could get it changed. Right, like I said, right now, this thing is under review. These guys, 3 of the sanitation workers, assaulted me. They took me down. I got bruised ribs, stretched back, and so, like I say, it's under review right now, as far as I know, with the police department, and I just want to, I just want to see. Also, my wife had called once before, lands right there. But I just want to come before you all to see if we couldn't get them to stop doing that in front of my drive. I'm sure there's other places that they could do this. I've been in this town for a long time. I've never seen that happen in any other places. I mean, it's been several times that it's occurred down there in front of my driveway. So, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to take up too much of your time.
No, and I'm sorry I didn't give you a 1-minute warning.
Okay.
It snuck up on me.
right.
Thank you, Mr. Gray. That matter, as you noted, is under review by the department head of the sanitation department and our personnel officer. And once their review is concluded, the members of the city workforce will be dealt with in accordance with the guidelines of the city's personnel manual. In regards to for lack of a better way to put it, juice from the garbage trucks, I know is a nuisance. It's kind of a fact of life of the garbage trucks and the way they operate. Our personnel do the best they can to keep it out of the immediate vicinity of people's driveways, but that truck has to be compressed. And what happens when it is compressed is all of the liquid from the garbage runs and ultimately comes out of a drainage deposit at the bottom of the truck.
It's not being compressed, it's being transported from one truck to the other to compress it. So if it's being compressed, it's a different thing. But it's being transported from one truck to the big truck to compress.
Yeah, you got
That's the issue.
two vehicles back together. I mean, this is, if I could know it better, I think my residence would be a place where they do everything.
Well, I can assure you, your residence is not being singled out in any manner.
Okay. Well,
Thank
thank
you.
you very much. Y'all have a good day.
Any further citizen comments? Are there any further citizen comments? Any further citizen comments?
Regarding the public hearing, you make your comments there, or you do 3 minutes now?
In the public hearing, if it's related to the subject matter of the public hearing, then save the comments for the public hearing. Any further citizen comments? Any further citizen comments? All right, seeing none, we'll move to public appearances. And we now have only one public appearance, as one of them was stricken from the agenda. And that is a presentation by Becky Wilkes of the Ocotillo County of the American Red Cross for the annual budget report to the board.
And the final budget report
Yes, ma'am.
for the American Red Cross.
And will you brief us on
I
that?
will. As I go through this, I'll talk to you. In your handouts, you've got a copy of our annual report. There was one more fire on the last day of the fiscal year, so there's an increase by 1 there. In the past year, by any standards, except those of the National American Red Cross Office, we've had a tremendously successful year. We responded to 3 major fires, including 9 deaths at the Academy Crossing fire. We responded to a tornado in a neighboring county where 5 people were killed. We set up a shelter there within hours of the time the storm struck. We fed volunteers and victims alike for 3 days. We took in $230,000 this year. More than $15,000 of that was for relief for the earthquake in Haiti. In mid-June, our board was visited by the Red Cross Divisional Vice President from Texas and told that as of July 1, we were no longer a chapter. Further, either Columbus or Starkville's office would be closed, and the Red Cross chapter that serves you now is in Meridian. The reasons given for this action were avoiding duplication of effort, having two offices too close together, Columbus and Starkville, and they have reduced the number of chapters in the state to 5. And in doing that, they created a chapter in Oxford, 50 miles from the chapter in Tupelo. When I asked them about that duplication of effort, I was told that Oxford had more fundraising potential than Starkville did. Nothing was mentioned about increasing or improving Red Cross services or helping the people of the counties we serve. Now, our chapter has always been solvent. Even in years when we came in beneath our budget, we had money in the bank to cover those expenses. We have not cost the national organization anything. Every year, we pay a chapter assessment. Last year, we paid $16,000 to the American Red Cross just to maintain our chapter here. In return for that, we received $8,000 to be spent in Webster, Winston, and Choctaw counties because they don't have a chapter and they're what we call service delivery area. Now they want 3% of our budget to cover accounting costs, 10% of our budget for a chapter assessment. They've moved all of our banking to Oklahoma. We can no longer bank locally nor pay bills here. That has to come from Oklahoma. When the national office showed a deficit in its budget, they took the money from the local chapter, saying we were all one Red Cross, left the chapters broke, but the national organization came out solvent with a balance. As we were told mid-June that Mississippi Red Cross was operating at a $500,000 deficit and that this realignment of the organization was to help streamline services and equalize services. We understood that we needed to think outside ourselves. And then 10 days later, I got an email saying because Red Cross had done such a wonderful job with fundraising, people who were hired before March of this year would receive a lump sum 3% benefit. I didn't quite understand how we were in the hole one day and then 10 days later we had this surplus and we're getting a 3% bonus. But support for our efforts from you and from the county has been tremendous, and from the citizens of Oktibbeha County, and I deeply appreciate that. But we are tired of contributing to a bureaucracy that emphasizes exorbitant salaries to management, that ignores the needs of the local people. In the Choctaw County tornado, the biggest concern that the headquarters had was having somebody from Red Cross present when the legislators showed up. The photo op with the senator and the representative. We can't do that anymore. The County Emergency Management Association, or Emergency Management Office, the 911 office, wants our services to continue. And this morning, the County Board of Supervisors passed a resolution to keep us going, but under the umbrella of the E911 office. Through that, we will be delivering the same services that we've done, with one exception, and that is that we will no longer be the center to call for military services when you need to get an emergency communication verified to get someone home. We won't be able to do that. But we propose to deliver our services through the actions of a CERT team, which is an already in-place organization through the 911 office. It helps people to be better prepared to respond to emergencies and puts us a little closer to the front line than we have been in the past. We will also be responsible when emergency happens to provide sheltering, to provide the same services that Red Cross did. We also propose that we will continue to liaison with Red Cross as their congressional charter requires that they cover, that their services are provided to all of us. Let me clarify that by saying we paid for everything ourselves last year. We gave national money. We think that we can do this on our own and just in Oktibbeha County and stay solvent too. The first couple of years will be hard. We will lose that brand identity of the American Red Cross. But we think that the citizens of Oktibbeha County and Starkville will step up and help us. When we polled our 22-member board, of the 20 I got in touch with when we saw this resolution coming with the board today, 18 said yes, 1 abstained, and 1 said no. So we've got the support of the people of the organization with us. We propose to deliver our CPR, first aid, health and safety classes through the American Heart Certification Program. Our instructors are willing to recertify for that program. And in case of a major disaster, we will be here. In case of a minor disaster, we will be here. When I called the office, the regional office today, after the Board of Supervisors met, and explained to them that we would go ahead and close our doors effective July 13, the one question they said was, you know that any money in the bank is ours, don't you? Yes, I know the money is there. We're not here for the money. I mean, we're going to need it to operate, but we're here to help people, and I'm ready for somebody from Red Cross to say, what can we do to help, rather than where's the money? Questions?
Under your new structure, will you still be called the American Red Cross?
No.
What will your new name be?
We are working on that. This is all brand new, having happened today, but it will be, there is a precedent for it. Tuscaloosa has done this, Pike County, Mississippi has done it, and it all comes under the Human Resources section of the Emergency Management Office, Jim Britt's office.
So you'll work under Jim?
We'll work under Jim. And we will deliver some of the programs that are available through him. We'll also have access to some grant opportunities through him.
So from a cost saving standpoint, you won't pay the $16,000 into nationals, nor will you pay the $7,800 into local military services. Do you think you'll fare better financially next fiscal year?
I think if we had stayed with Red Cross, if we had fought and if they had said, okay, you can stay open as a location of service area or whatever, their budget expectation for us would have been about $300,000. We can't do that. We can operate our chapter effectively on 60 or 70, given the caveat that if there is a dire emergency, like an Academy Crossing fire, if the mayor says, please send donations to this organization, that's where a lot of that money came from. And then a lot came in for the Choctaw County tornado and was all funneled directly to national. Now, according to the bylaws of the American Red Cross, any money donated to local disaster relief has to be spent here. So we will be cooperating with the Red Cross to see that services are still provided here. But we want to be the ones who are there on the front line when there's a Campus Trails fire or when there's an Academy Crossing fire or a tornado. We don't want to have to wait for Meridian. We want to be there. I think we'll be all right money-wise. I know it's going to be tough. We're asking y'all for the same donation, if not more than last year. But we're asking the county for the same thing. Now, they provide us a building and utilities. They give us $11,000, $12,000. They give it, and y'all give us $5,000, and we're hoping to increase that. But I know everybody else is too. United Way is with us on it. They will support us too.
Will you organize as a division of the Emergency Management Office, or would you be a
We will be
separate
volunteer
nonprofit?
services under the Emergency Management Office.
So
And we
you'll
will
be a governmental unit?
Well, kind of. We'll be the volunteer branch of it. But we will be asking the city for an interlocal agreement with the county for this purpose. And we hope we'll get the university support too. We'll see. We've talked to a couple of them and they're very supportive. I was personally insulted by the idea that they would even talk about closing our chapter after the way we responded this year. And we responded to 4 major events, more than we've done in the whole time I've been associated with the Red Cross, and handled them beautifully and paid for them all locally. And they just want more money.
I don't know how we would have gotten through it without the Red Cross. I'm very thankful that y'all have taken the initiative to reform, and there's going to be a presence, because I don't know what we would do otherwise.
You have such caring people here. I don't think that at the national office, when this decision was made, they understood that Starkville is a very different kind of community, with people who are as qualified and as talented as they are, who are willing to give their time and willing to say, yes, I'll spend the night on a cot in Choctaw County if that's what it takes, to get these people through. Now, we'll be working just in Oktibbeha County in this new scenario. but we will have access to Red Cross, and some of our folks will remain Red Cross volunteers for disaster purposes through Columbus or Meridian, wherever they can.
Further questions or comments from the members of the board? Any further questions or comments from the members of the board? Any questions or comments? Seeing none. Thank you, Ms. Wells.
Thank you.
All right, and that'll take us to two public hearings that we have scheduled for tonight. The first is a public hearing on a resolution authorizing preparation and submittal of a proposal and subsequent application for economic development grant funds under the Katrina Supplemental Community Development Block Grant Program and for related purposes.
The passage of time. We have shared your joy at the birth of your children, and proudly we have watched them grow. We've taken care of your health care needs during the good times and the not so good. Your parents and grandparents have depended upon us. Together we have shared the struggles and the wonders of life. At Oktibbeha County Hospital, we are celebrating 30 years of being your lifelong choice in health care.
Hello, I'm Bill Green, TV Committee Chair for WOBV 5. In an effort to provide better service to you and your family, we have installed a new telephone line that will reach us whether we are in the office or away from the station. Our new number is 662-546-0510. Please call our station helpline anytime. If we're busy, please leave a message, and one of our staff will return your call just as soon as possible. Again, our new station helpline number is 662-546-0510. Thank you for watching WOBV 5, the station in the heart of the city.
And I think the best parties to introduce this subject for us are the parties actually associated with the cotton mill development. We have two here tonight. Ann Frazier, who's acting as a consultant on the project, and Mark Nicholas, who is one of the developers on the cotton mill project. If you'll come forward and just provide a brief explanation of where we are in the process and what this means.
Back to the public, so I don't know where you're going to say.
Wherever you're most comfortable, it's fine.
My name is Ann Frazier. I'm with Jimmy Gurr's Urban Planning. It is, I think, a sign-in sheet has been going around to sign in. If everyone will sign in for me, please. Like the mayor said, I think y'all have adopted the resolution, correct, to apply for it's Katrina Supplemental Community Development Block Grant Funds. I think the city is in a position to apply for up to $8 million for this project. The project will assist in land acquisition and construction of a parking garage for the Cotton Mill Marketplace development. I think under the project, it's expected to create 350 to 400 new jobs for the community and a private investment of approximately $125 million when all three phases are completed. The state has a rating system on these applications. Scoring factors include project readiness, number of net new jobs to be created, amount of private investment, and amount of local investment in the project. The application is expected to be submitted in approximately 30 to 45 days, and the approval process will approximately take the same amount of time. Eligible activities besides the parking garage that you could apply for include access roads, drainage, water and sewer improvements, rail spurs, natural gas improvements, and other public infrastructure. That's really all I have to say about it. I mean, it's a simple process. We're just here to garner your comments and input into the development of the application. If anybody has any comments?
We'll get to the comments in just a second. Are there any questions or comments from the members of the board? Any questions or comments from the members of the board? Seeing none, we'll move into the public comment portion of the public hearing. And this is a little different than the typical public hearing that we have. So what we'll do, rather than doing a pro-con So this can serve a more informational purpose, which I think is what this is anyone wishing to make comments, ask questions of Ms. Frazier or the members of the board or myself may do so by coming forward and being recognized for a maximum of 3 minutes. And we'll put a total cap of 30 minutes on the public comment time. Is there anyone wishing to make comments?
Hey, how y'all doing?
Hey.
Okay, first of all, my name is Fred Allen, this is my wife Tamara Allen, and we're business people in the community, and we're both from low-income economic communities. And we've never used a dime of taxpayers' money to develop our businesses. Now, I've been affiliated with Cotton Mill District, I guess about a couple years ago, when they came to the county seeking the funds, we asked a couple questions. First question we asked was, can you show us your personal financial statements and your corporation statements? What we're trying to do at that point was develop a capital source determination to make sure they had enough money to develop the project before so they wouldn't come back and ask the taxpayers for more money. Unfortunately, we got no answer. I think we're getting an answer today because they're back again asking the taxpayers to put more money into this project. Other question I asked was, why are you developing initially they got $8.5 million in TIF funds, and this is supposed to be developed economic blight areas where there's no hope for development. I'm from the east side of Detroit, and I know a low-income community. Recently, Taylor Properties is going down, they're developing that property. They're building $80,000 per unit condominiums. So you're gonna tell me that property just next to Mississippi State University is a low income value property. And that's what these funds are supposed to be used for. The TIF funds and the CDD funds are supposed to be used for community development projects. Last statement. I don't want to put you guys on the spot, but has any of the aldermen looked at this program and what you have to be eligible to participate in it? Probably not. And there's 3 points here, and once again, that to be eligible. And this is a national product. This is directly from the program. To be eligible for these programs, you must first be developing products for low and moderate income folks. That's the first priority. Second, the product is supposed to be developed in a low blight, undeveloped area. These funds are not to be used to buy real estate, value real estate property, and develop it at the expense of the taxpayers. So all we're asking you guys to do, before you vote on this thing, and before you take it up to wherever you're gonna take it, think about the fact, are we superseding the purposes of these programs? And let's not invest in folks. I have anything against these guys. I would ask the same questions of any taxpayer investment. Let's think about what we're doing with these funds and before we vote on them and approve it. Because I will be one person. This money could be used in a lot, I got 1 minute or I'm finished.
You got 1 minute.
Okay, these funds could be used in a lot better needy areas. Martin Luther King Drive. Out in the county, there's people who don't have water and sewer. These funds will be used for folks who really need the money. So if you get the money and don't invest in companies that don't have, and once again, not trying to be personal, but don't invest in companies that keep coming back to develop a project when they're not capital, they don't have the project. You know, to have the money, the capital to produce the project. And why should we help them buy property from Mississippi State University, who's already getting over 40% of the money from the taxpayers in the first place? So we're helping them borrow money from Mississippi State to develop property. So think about it, folks. You know, that's all I'm saying, because I'm going to be one that's going to protest this, because it shouldn't be used, CD money should not be used for those opportunities.
Thank you, Mr. Allen.
Yes, any questions? Y'all have any questions for me?
Hold on, let's get through the comment period. Any further comments?
Mayor, rest of the board members, my name is Chris Taylor. I just want to know what can happen to the homeowners over in that area, right behind the hotel, or condo, whatever they're going to happen there. Because in that other plan, they were talking about moving them eventually in 10 years. And those homeowners are not able to move. I cannot see it. So I don't see no homeowners here, but I'm speaking for them. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Further comments?
My name is Alvin Turner. Will this bring jobs for people that don't have jobs? Or will it bring its own workforce? People need to work. Our mind got nothing to do. That hurt.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Any further comments?
I respect the fact that as a business person, you want to bring development into your community and you like to see people work. But I also think that, quite frankly, when you bring in new projects, I've seen a lot of companies come in and say, we're going to create new jobs for the community. And those things don't come to fruition. So that's happened throughout some areas in Mississippi, and I think you've seen some articles in your newspaper recently that pointed some of those out in your editorials. So while I appreciate the fact that you're bringing new business, new jobs into the community, you're also taking tax dollars away from the community. So I'm trying to understand where we all benefit. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Allen. Are there any further public comments? Any further public comments?
I'm Michael Queeson from the 5th Ward.
How do you spell your last name?
O-K-H-U-Y-S-E-R. I'm concerned about this project. Are we just going to get a parking deck? I mean, we've heard of this project. I haven't seen any retail space being built in this country for 2 years. I don't know when the retail sector is scheduled to revive. So I don't think the retail component of it is viable for years in the future. Mark Castleberry, he's building hotels in Columbus, but not retail now. The hotel, conference center, I think, unfortunately, that was their problem. It was going to be the biggest one in Mississippi. The Cotton Hill's too big for a conference center. What do you do with the rest of it? 200 rooms of hotel overnight. Two different groups are building 200 rooms in Columbus. Are we going to put up a parking deck that we're going to tear down in 10 years? I mean, I'd like to see something built. There's plenty of land there. Do some things. When you need a parking deck, build a parking deck. I don't think Starkville needs parking decks. But the density of population isn't such in Starkville to require them. I've lived in New Jersey. I've seen areas. My brother lives in Dallas. My sister lives in Houston. Family grew up in big cities. Starkville's not that big yet. So I don't think we need a parking deck. And if a project requires a parking deck, I question the project.
Thank you, Mr. O'Quishan. Any further comments? Any further public comments? Any further public comments? All right, seeing none, that will conclude the public comment portion of the public hearing. We'll move back into a discussion by the members of the board. And I'll speak to a few points that were raised and just clarify some things. First off, this is a pure grant program. So what we're talking about with the CDBG grant application is not anything where city monies are going to have to be used as a match or otherwise for this component of the program. Second, I guess in terms of other uses for this resource, it's, I guess, important to realize how this came to be. And these are resources that the Mississippi Development Authority, who oversees the CDBG program, has steered for this project. In other words, if the city made a blind blanket application for $8 million in funds, it would not be viewed in the same light, have the same probability for success. This is something the Mississippi Development Authority supports this project. They, at the state level, have looked for every way possible to provide resources for the project. So this is not grant funding where the city would be in a position to apply and with any great degree of probability think that it might be able to be utilized somewhere else. I don't think there's any doubt when and if this project materializes. If the project doesn't materialize, then there will be no grant resources expended on it. When and if it materializes, which the prospects look very strong for it to materialize right now, it will be a job-producing project. I think estimates between 200 and 400 jobs when you look at potential plans for the site, if that materializes, will undeniably be there, because it has to be there. Are there any comments, questions from the members of the board? Alderman Carter.
Other than your sales tax rebate and things like that, and I guess I'm asking the developer and the mayor, would there be any additional city funds that you ever see the city having to match for the history of this project? Would there be any kind of city funds, any kind of anything you foresee?
On the overall project, there are some actions where city resources won't be expended on the front end, but additional revenues that would be generated by this project will be put back into the development. And that's the TIF that both the city and the county passed a couple of years back, would be still utilized to fund the project. And the way a TIF works is you use the economic growth from the project to finance bonds that are utilized on the front end. So a bond is issued to finance up to $8.5 million of this project. And then over a 15-year period, 95% of the value added in property tax would go to pay down the debt of that $8.5 million in bonds. Now, value added is a very important component of that, because that property, of course, has value that's on the tax roll right now. That money is not subject to the TIF. So unless the project makes and you get value added to the tax roll, then the TIF doesn't come into play. So on the one hand, you can look at it as potential lost revenues for the city in terms of increased tax dollars. On the other hand, you can look at it as without that $8.5 million in financing, there's no way this project would make. So that revenue would never materialize in the first place. Further discussion. Further discussion by the members of the board. Any further discussion?
We ask one question.
Sure.
So if the property is going to be developed anyway, it's a valuable piece of property. It's a valuable piece of property. It's going to be developed. Why should the taxpayers give up money? We have people down there developing the area right now. They're creating jobs, and they're putting money on the tax rolls, and they're not even asking taxpayers to pay any money. So can you guys explain to me why you don't want to be patient and wait for other companies to come and develop the property, but we don't have to put any money in? And they're going to create jobs also.
This prospect for development is substantially different, larger in scale than anything we've ever seen in this community before. I don't feel there are potential similar opportunities waiting in the wings. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, that will conclude our public hearing on the resolution for the CDBG grant proposal. Our second public hearing is the third public hearing on amending the City of Starkville sign ordinance number 2008-10 and the City of Starkville Code of Ordinances to expand enumerated users for city right-of-way, guidelines and permitting processes for said users, amortization of non-conforming signs, and other minor revisions or clarifications. That was a mouthful. Mr. Griffith, would you like to introduce proposed sign ordinance changes?
Yes, sir, Mayor. Mayor and Board, the item before you this evening is the third public hearing for revisions to the city's sign ordinance. In your packet is a draft with strike-throughs and double underlines to assist you in identifying the revisions from the previous two public hearings. A question has arisen regarding directional signage in Section 26 USC 501c3 organizations, and I will need clarification from the city attorney before asking the board to consider approval of the proposed ordinance. Most of the other revisions throughout the sign ordinance are clarifications from the Code Enforcement Division to assist in better and more easily understood compliance with the sign code. A significant addition is a section for amortization found at the bottom of page 16 of the draft ordinance, which provides a schedule for required compliance of non-conforming signs. For example, window signs should come into compliance within 6 months of the effective date of the new ordinance. Wall signs have 12 months. The more expensive signs, such as monument signs, multi-tenant business signs, pole signs, and roof signs, have 7 years to come into compliance. The intent being to provide businesses and property owners ample time to become compliant with their signage. At this time, I'll answer any questions you may have regarding the draft sign ordinance, and hopefully we can have the 501c3 question resolved for consideration and possible adoption at the July 20th board meeting.
Questions or comments by the members of the board for Mr. Griffith? Any questions or comments by the members of the board?
Ben, that's the first time I'd seen the 7-year grace period, I guess, and bringing everybody into compliance. So it's
It is.
I mean, that's just basically everybody on Highway 12.
That's, yes, sir.
Throughout the city.
Throughout
I
the
mean,
city.
throughout the city, I mean,
but
I mean, that's a, okay.
And this does give them a chance to plan for replacing those signs, gives
Yes,
them
ma'am.
time to amortize it, so there's not an immediate.
Yes, ma'am. Amortization is a way for a sign owner or a business owner, property owner to have 7 years to utilize the sign, depreciate the sign for tax reasons, what have you. Also, especially for a locally owned business, for that business to put aside money to replace. My experience in other places has been that your national chains, they'll within a year or so, whenever their next fiscal year or business cycle, they'll make the arrangements and do it that way. It's a lot. I understand it's a lot harder for a locally owned business to signs are not cheap. There's a significant amount involved with making the signs compliant. To do that. In 7 years, I've seen anywhere from 5 to 7 years, and that's why I put the more expensive ones out. I thought 7 years is at that outer end. And then wall signs and window signs, those are one of the ones we get a lot of complaints about. And obviously window signage are signs that can be remedied fairly quickly. A lot of it are paper signs that are just plastered in a window or the peel and stick type. So kind of did a graduated schedule for that.
And all of this is part of reducing visual clutter.
Yes, ma'am.
Further questions or comments from the members of the board? Any further questions or comments from the members of the board? Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll move to the public comment portion of the public hearing. And this public comment portion will be in keeping with standard practice on public hearings on ordinances. That is that we will recognize a speaker for first and alternate then between speakers for and speakers against the ordinance until each side has exhausted a total of 15 minutes. Each speaker may speak for a maximum of 3 minutes, either for or against. Is there anyone that would like to speak in favor of the proposed ordinance amendment? Is there anyone that would like to speak in favor? Is there anyone that would like to speak against the proposed ordinance amendment?
Good evening to the mayor and board. My name is Alvin Turnbull. A lot of people, if it's not in black and white, whether that they can read and understand it, they skeptic. We got 311 letter in our letter could be where we could read it and try to understand it. And we have a helmet order that had no legs stand up. Signs where people can get to, where they need to get to, and a lot of people not good with direction. But if we can put 311 information black and white for that purpose, helmet and all the other orders that we're trying to wear. If the people see it in black and white, they kind of know what's going on.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Is there anyone that would like to speak in favor of the proposed ordinance amendment? Anyone that would like to speak in favor? Is there anyone that would like to speak against the proposed ordinance amendment? Anyone that would like to speak against? Is there anyone that would like to speak for or against or indifferent to the ordinance amendment? Any further comment? Any further comment? Seeing none, we'll move back into a board discussion on the proposed amendment. Are there any questions or comments from the members of the board? Any questions or comments from the members of the board? Seeing none, that will conclude this, our third public hearing on the amendment to the sign ordinance. And that will take us to board business. Prior to moving into discussion on board business, without objection, I'd like to move us into a brief recess. Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, we stand in recess.
Sunday.
As long as she'll keep mowing.
Sprinklers came in and it didn't hit it directly, but it missed it.
Just over 24,000. You mowed or John mowed? $9 million question that there's not a very straight answer to is whether that includes steel. The easiest answer is it's supposed to, but it is very, very difficult accounting for that population. My guess is that probably represents about half of the students actually live in the city.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely like to sell south, but I hate
Yeah, of course, you don't get much of the dorm space on campus, including the city, because it's outside of the city limits. Now, all of Community Row and half of Florida Road, but there's probably every bit of 10,000 students living off campus within the city limits. And that's where we've tried to go above and beyond the call of duty, doing everything we could locally to get it counted this time, but it's very difficult.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
We all ready.
Y'all ready? Okay.
Let's do it.
Meeting will now come back to order. And we're now in board business. The first matter for your consideration is the making of appointments to the Oktibbeha County Heritage Museum Board. And you have two applicants for one space this evening, so you'll need to make a decision on the appointment. Do we have either of the applicants here? Okay, so there won't be any interviews because neither of the applicants is here. I guess we'll move into discussion on the appointments. You have Ginger Tedder and Emily Jones that have both submitted a letter for your review.
So both these are for the same,
For the same spot. You have one vacancy on the Heritage Museum Board. Alderman Corey.
I had a chance to review both the applicants, and based on her availability, I would move that we appoint Emily Jones to the position on the Heritage Museum Board.
Alderman Corey has made a motion to appoint Emily Jones to the Oktibbeha County Heritage Museum Board. Alderman Corey, is that your motion?
It is.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Carver. Alderman Corey, do you wish to speak on the merits?
Yeah.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Alderman Corey's motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. And the next matter before you is the consideration of authorizing the expenditure of matching funds as authorized by the board for beautification committee projects. Alderman Dumas, would you like to introduce?
I will, and I'll just keep this short. It's pretty simple. These funds have already been authorized, but just to keep a clean bill of health, there's two items that are being presented for matching funds. $1,000 being donated by the Town and Country Garden Club for annuals being planted downtown, and then $1,500 by the Town and Country Garden Club for a Friends of Hollis Creek project for a total of $2,500. And so we're asking that $2,500 of the $15,000 of the matching funds be expended.
Do you have a motion?
I do. I move that we approve the expenditure of matching funds as authorized by the board for the beautification committee projects.
Would you like to?
In the way of $2,500.
Okay. Alderman Dumas has made a motion to approve the authorization of the expenditure of $2,500 in matching funds as authorized by the board for beautification committee projects. Alderman Dumas, is that your motion?
It is.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Corey. Alderman Dumas, do you wish to speak on the merits?
I do not.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Alderman Carter.
Should we put a not to exceed amount on there, the 15,000?
Well, the $15,000's already been authorized, so this is just $2,500 of that 15.
Okay.
Yeah, and he put 2,500 in the motion, so the motion is for approval of 2,500.
Okay.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Alderman Dumas's motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. The next matter on the agenda is the approval of the City of Starkville Fire Department claims docket as of July 1st, 2010.
Mayor, I'm asked to recuse myself.
You may. We'll give Alderman Carver a moment to exit the room.
Move approval.
Motion has been made by Alderman Dumas to approve of the City of Starkville Fire Department claims docket as of July 1st, 2010. Alderman Dumas, is that your motion?
It is.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Corey. Alderman Dumas, do you wish to speak on the merit?
I do not.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. And we'll give Alderman Carver a moment to re-enter the room. The next matter we have on our agenda is the request for authorization to advertise for the position of a part-time airport manager at George M. Bryan Airfield. Mr. Boyd?
Good evening, Mayor and Board. This request has been sent from the Airport Commission that we advertise to fill the job of airport manager on a part-time basis. That position has been served by volunteer for some time. The commission is asked to advertise for a part-time position for that. And that's, the request is to advertise to fill that part-time position.
Questions or comments for Mr. Boyd by the members of the board?
I got a question.
Alderman Dibble.
This will be a city position, obviously, but will there be shared cost with the salary, or city paid all funds, or all salary?
I'll need to probably turn to Marquita for help in answering
I
that.
think the airport has it in their budget to.
Yeah, it's in the airport budget.
Previously, it was paid from the city.
Okay.
Further discussion.
So when it was a paid position, the city paid it,
That's correct.
and now the airport board is gonna pay it out of their budget now?
Well, I mean, the city paid it, but it was from the airport fund.
Right.
Right. And I think that's what they're asking that it return to, that the city pay it, it just be from.
It's general fund dollars.
General fund dollars.
Right, yes.
Further discussion? Is there any further discussion? We have no motion pending.
Mr. Mayor, we do have, I think we have the gentleman from one who's the liaison for the, with the airport. I would like to hear from him. We don't have a motion pending, so we can see where we need to go from here.
Mayor, I just move request authorization to advertise to fill the part-time position of airport manager.
Alderman Carver's made a motion to authorize the advertisement of the position of part-time airport manager for George M. Bryan Airfield. Alderman Carver, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
And do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Parker. Alderman Carver, do you wish to speak on the matter?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll now move into a vote on Alderman Carver's motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes.
Thank you.
And that exhausts everything on our agenda but matters potentially for executive session. You have a series of matters for potential executive session before you. Now would be an appropriate time, if you wish to consider them, to move into a closed session to determine whether there is a need for an executive session.
Mayor, I move that we both go into closed session to determine a need for executive session.
Alderman Corey has made a motion to move into closed session to determine whether there is a need for executive session. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Vaughn. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. We'll now move into a closed session. We'll give everybody a moment.
Hi, I'm Bill Green, Executive Producer for WOBV Channel 5. In an effort to improve your viewing quality in Starkville, WOBV and MetroCast are undergoing several major changes. Channel 5 will be changing its affiliate in the near future, upgrading our equipment, and begin showing programming created in our own studios. MetroCast has made a major investment in its wiring infrastructure in Starkville and the surrounding area and will be changing its channel lineup. While WOBV and MetroCast are modifying their infrastructure, there may be periods where we are off the air. We ask your forgiveness and patience while we are upgrading our signal and programming in Starkville. If we do go off the air on the cable, please try to dust off your old rabbit ears and tune in to us on Channel 5 the old-fashioned way. Thank you for watching WOBV Channel 5, the station in the heart of the city.